2 points for me. One of the points that I pick, which I think I also had picked, given my interest in devolution, is the need for the country to strengthen the intergovernmental relations across board. And I think that's the one area 10 years on that we have not done well. And we are competing. The different actors on devolution are competing instead of collaborating and cooperating, as was intended by the Constitution. Governor Kihika, you proposed a dispute resolution committee between the two houses. Question to you and to the panelists, have we ever contemplated, beyond having the two speakers consult on which legislation should go to the Senate, have we ever contemplated setting up an interparliamentary liaison committee that can actually be the space for consultations around some of these issues before they go to court or before they bring a lot of dispute? So it's something I don't know whether we have. On the issue of the Senate fund, I would support Senator Alvarez's point that I hope we will not go the route of turning ourselves into an executive implementer. We should remain an oversight body rather than an implementer of projects. And I suggest that when that fund is set up, that we should focus on designing activities that can have the participation of all members of the Senate in carrying out the oversight activities. The reason I say this, we have nominated senators who are elected by political parties and they represent interest groups. And oftentimes, when you allocate a fund per elected member, you actually turn nominated members into props in the legislative houses instead of also giving them opportunity to interact with the electorate whom they represent. So we need to design this in a manner that will ensure that every senator is an equal senator and has equal opportunity to play their role. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator from Nyeri.
Thank you very much, Senator Professor Kamal. I first of all want to start by thanking the panelists for that very, very insightful presentation. Mine will be a very, very quick one. I think the solution as per how this oversight fund can be gotten using a purely mathematical formula. Having engineering and project management, the law international, and that's the best practice, you can apportion a certain percentage of the total project cost to monitoring and evaluation, as is done in the CDF. You can also, without looking at the recurrent expenditure, and that would solve Mr. Senator Alvarez's insight that which county gets what, because it would be based on the amount of development expenditure that is allocated to each county, and that would be quite mathematical and fair to everybody. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I'm starting to forget the names. I know Senator Tuya is the one at the end, Senator in front in Olwoba. Start with her, please.
County. I think on the issue of nominated senators, they are all equal, and we are nominated under either agenda top-up, or we are nominated under, people with disability or marginalized groups. But that is not why you're not nominated to go and look at issues of women. You're nominated to ensure that we either meet the 2/3, but your role there is the same as an elected senator. And one of the things that I have quickly learned is that there seems to be a difference between nominated and elected, to the extent that even when we are discussing now how the oversight fund is going to be distributed, you start wondering, I am from Kisii County, nominated from Kisii County. My county still has 9 constituencies. If at any one point there will be an oversight, as a nominated member from Kisii County, same as my elected member from Kisii County, we will be playing oversight of the same 9 constituencies. It will not be that I am going to do oversight of 15% because as a nominated senator, my oversight is 15%. I think that's one thing we really need to think through, because at the end of it all, we'll still be interacting with the electorate, and I think that we should, as nominated, and I'm speaking as nominated, be treated equally when it comes to matters of the floor of the House and our responsibilities.
Thank you very much, Senator Tuya.
Thank you very much, Professor.
There is no point of order. There is no point of order.
Thank you,
Not
Prof.
allowed. Please allow people to contribute. I'll come back.
Thank you very much, Professor. And thank you to our presenters. I'll be very brief. As a third-termer, and also coming from the former upper house, and now I'm in the upper house, quite frankly, listening to what the Honorable Senator Mungatana has said, you know, the whole, one of the biggest problems we have in this country is that at the point where we make laws, we don't do it for posterity. At the time when the Honorable Mungatana was sitting on the table where matters of the mandate of the Senate was being discussed, he was, and I would imagine I'm just referring to him because he's the one who raised the issue. At that point, people were making laws for themselves, thinking they will always be in the National Assembly. It is selfish, and I want to believe and to be optimistic that we have come of age on matters devolution. And all these matters we are discussing, you know, we might have an oversight fund as the Senate, but if we are still fighting about interpretation of clear definition of roles in the Constitution and agreeing to go by what the Constitution intended, then even the oversight fund will come and we will not deal with the issue as we ought to do. My point, Honorable Professor, isn't it a time where this country, we have goodwill, we have the Speaker of the National Assembly now, who has been a two-term senator. Here we have the Honorable Speaker, who has been a two-term governor. Can we do a social audit of the role of Senate? And by suggesting that we do a social audit, it is not that we don't know what the Senate ought to do, but just to bring the attention of the country to sit down and agree that this is the time to make our Senate operate. We make the necessary structures for posterity, not for me as Soipan thinking that I will remain in the Senate, so let's not make it better, but for this country, because we know what to do.
Thank you, Senator. The Senator at the far end, please introduce yourself now. I cannot even see your face. I've tried 90% no names.
Mwenda Gataya is from Narganithi. I have listened to our presenters, but the whole story was about the struggle to liberate the Senate for 15 years now. The struggle was about to liberate the Senate, to make it functional, to make it get realized, to make it being felt. And for the first time, I think we have a political goodwill. We are lucky that our Speaker is a two-term governor, has been a member of Parliament. In the National Assembly, we have a Speaker who has been in the Senate. So all these logistics are in place. We have a President who is very mindful of the entire representation, both the National Assembly and the Senate. And I would want to borrow from my senior, Bonnie Kalwale, that he has confessed that they got 500 million shillings that was not put into the prudent use because there were no agreements. Already you have heard that there are quite a number of contested issues about members of the nominated senators and how the money is likely to be shared. I think this is the high time that as a house, we are supposed to put in place some legal mechanisms on how this money can be shared when the money is in them. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is that the senator from Lamu? From? Migori. I will come back to you, Cheptumo. And please, let's have a minute because I can see we are ready to forego lunch, Mr. Speaker. This one is the most important topic of this conference. Once this is done, the others will flow. Yes.
Thank you so much, Professor. Mine are just two questions, two quick questions, and I'll direct them to specific members
If I
of the
don't
panel.
say your name, please say it for the sake of the members, because
Sure.
this is a time when we want to know one another.
My name is Senator Eddie Gisheru Okech from Migori County.
Thank you.
My first question is to Governor Senator Sang. I view Senate as a place whereby we will be measured by the contributions that we make more than the benefits that we had. And one of the biggest contributions that we can make in the agenda of on-source revenue is actually having a more coercive and authoritative enhancement of physical capacity of counties. Because even if you look at what is happening now with on-source revenue, it is it's not coercive and it is not also authoritative to the extent that you have about 111 billion collected by counties that's even unbanked. So given your experience as a senator and now as a governor, Governor Sang, what do you see as the creative opportunities for senators to build coercive and authoritative enhancement of physical capacity for counties? The second question, very fast, if you allow me, goes directly to Senator Dulo on this question of the role and the place of Senate. If you read the Standing Order number 22, the Standing Order establishes the political leadership of the Senate. And in my view, I think that the problem or the misunderstanding of the role and the place of the Senate in the Kenyan society today is a political question, not a constitutional question. So my question to you, Senator Dulo, is that is there a way we can be able to devise, through our leadership in the Senate, a political strategy that can be able to enhance political goodwill by the executive and by the members of the National Assembly to be able to entrench the role of the Senate in Kenya? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator Osotsi. Let it come forward here. And honorable senators, the next topic is very much related to this. And our conversation can continue because it's going to be a topic on devolution itself, understanding devolution. So please allow me to take Osotsi, come to Baringo, Senator Baringo, and then Beatrice.
Thank you.
Then we can move the other questions to Senator Kinyua's session because it's on all very close topics. Can we do it that way? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable Soti Vihiga. Chair, I must confess that as one of the members coming from the National Assembly, I sat in the House Business Committee for 4 years. And I'm among the National Assembly members who really frustrated Senate. Alongside people like Duale, Mbadi, Junet. But I'm here. So I have a lot to share with you on how we are going to move forward as Senate. But then I must confess, listening to the speeches here, listening to Senator Mungatana and the others, clearly there are gaps in the Constitution on the role of Senate. Even with the basic reading of Article 96.2, alongside Article 95.3, you clearly see that the National Assembly has been given the powers to enact legislation, whereas the Senate has been given a participatory role in the process of lawmaking. So, yeah, it is there. Okay, the general aspect is that there are gaps in law.
Let's allow him to contribute. By Friday, everybody will be in the same page.
There are gaps in law.
Yeah.
And the question I keep on asking myself, what has stopped the Senate from initiating the process of amendments to the Constitution so that it gives us the strength to operate as a stronger house? Thank you.
Thank you very much. That is BBI. Senator
Thank you, Chair.
Cheptumo, and then Beatrice closes, then we'll come back.
Chair, Senator Wambua, and I think my colleague Soipan raised serious issues about the comments by Mungatana, I think Kinyua. I think what Mungatana was saying, he was giving us the background, how Senate is what it is today. Because the discussion in Naivasha was to make Senate better. But the same Mungatana again, who was doing that in National Assembly, he did exactly what they have done. So I don't think he was saying it in bad faith. He was trying to really give us the background and the history of where we are. Secondly, Chair, I also have to confess my sins. Because I was the chairman of delegated legislation 2013-2017. That is when the regulations on matter Senate on the fund came up. And being the chair, of course, and with proper instructions from my team and the entire National Assembly, we really frustrated that fund. And here I am today. I want to agree with the proposal that let us do law for posterity. And I will do that when I'm in this house. I'm now doing my 4th term. It is very important that we facilitate this house. But Chair, we are now doing 10 years of devolution. And this being my first retreat with this in this house, it is like you are beginning this house again. I'm actually worried because listening to the discussions, like actually we are beginning Senate in 2022, and we have been here. My question, not to the, maybe to Bosire and Sang, is these members who have been in this house, can you tell us really, how have you undertaken oversight for 10 years? Practically, what have you been doing? Can you claim you have done oversight at all? And if the answer is yes, how have you done it? Because we want to know as new members.
Thank you.
Finally, Dr. Bosire, you spoke about whether we go to Treasury to follow up the allocated money for counties, and whether we have continued engagement with the Ministry of Devolution. I think these are the issues that we really want to interrogate now. The relevant institutions, ministries in charge, whether we can be able to do that and find out. And let me tell you, members, as I conclude, if you go to, and that's why we need to actually divine this house proper. Because today, and of course you know I am the Senator Baringo, and you know what has been happening about